Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Optimized E-commerce podcast. I'm Tanner Larson, and today we're going to talk about email and specifically how email can drive over 30% or more, we've seen it bigger in some cases, of your daily revenue, okay? So this is not counting ads. This is in addition to any ads you run or any organic sales you get or anything like that. We're just talking about, triggered flows, broadcast flows, and leveraging your email list to maximize money. And an extra 30% or account for over 30% of your revenue just from email. So to talk with that today, we've got Jacob Thompson. Jacob is one of our ROs from Down Under. He lives in Australia, if you didn't know what Down Under was. And he is also the son of Brett Thompson, who's our big copywriter guy. And I would probably venture to say that Jacob taught Brett everything he knows. Except for the spelling.
No, I grew up with good spelling, which is very thankful for.
So it's pretty cool because Brett is a big time copywriter, one of the best email copywriters and e-com copywriters in the game. And so Jacob being his son and also working with BGS, Jacob's been on both sides of it. He's been understood the importance of copy and how to craft copy and how to leverage copy in emails at the same time as tying it into revenue optimization and all the pieces that go along with that. So he's in kind of a unique place to be able to know both. And also he's been doing a lot more of the email marketing through some of our different client stores and partner brands and BGS as well. So today we're going to talk about that, and specifically he's going to jump into it. But Jacob, before we go too far into like how cool email is and why it's great, because people have heard like, oh, you should email your list forever. But the other thing is, and it's 2021. What's the stance on email, right? Is email, because seems like every year email is dead or dying, right? So yeah. Is email dead or dying?
No, it might be obvious to the people that have actually been sort of exposed to email marketing within their e-com business. But for those who haven't actually sort of been exposed to it or not too familiar with it, might actually have those questions that, or seen those posts that, email's dying, and, double down on other marketing sources such as Facebook and Instagram and all those things. But man, email marketing it's the lifeblood for a lot of our partnered stores. It's the lifeblood for a lot of our EI members. They, like you said, they're able to generate this is like almost a minimum these days of how like with our flows and everything that we have in place is like 30% like of their total revenue is generated through email marketing. And that's just the sort of the baseline that we're sort of, hey, we can get you here. But, we see clients, and I was going through like all the content that we had. And we've seen people upwards of 60% of their monthly revenue and all coming from email marketing, which is essentially like one of the highest, ROI marketing channels out there as well. So definitely not dead. And in fact, I even seen the thing from Klaviyo like recently saying there's something like there's like 3.9 billion daily email users, right? 3.9 billion daily email users. So people essentially, it's like everyday life for them. They're waking up, checking their emails before they get out of bed, or often up to like 20 times a day checking their emails. So, and that's like, there's no way that that's dying if that's the case. And it's actually expected to grow by 2023. It's something like 4.3 billion people are going to be using email daily, which is just like crazy numbers, and that should not be ignored as well. So
think about it. You and I, we use our email every day, right? I don't know a single person. Heck, even my father-in-law who thought he would have to buy a more expensive computer if he wanted to go anywhere but Craigslist or eBay. He's like, my computer's not nice enough to go to he literally thought we had to upgrade his computer to go to other websites. So he's not tech savvy at all. He emails, right? So, everybody's doing it. Everybody's using it. It's not dying in our form of communication. It's, now what has died is some of the ease at which it was able to be utilized, or, you send an email and everybody opens it. Those days are down, but that doesn't mean that email is ineffective by any means. The other piece about this, before Jacob really gets into this, is I want you to think about what email means for the most part. Email can be front-end sales for your prospect list, but the vast majority of the sales made through email marketing are going to be repeat customer sales, your existing customer base coming back and buying from you again. So the power there is that's now number one, if you're selling to them again, you are building a real business, because smart businesses know that profit is generated on the second and third sale and beyond, not on the first sale. So if you get that first sale, how are you supposed to get to the profit? Well, that's where emailing and you can do dynamic retargeting and all kinds of stuff like that. But emailing is the easiest one because this is a customer on your list. You can email them, you can direct mail them. But the other side of that is you've already paid the acquisition cost on that customer when you made the first sale. So any additional sales have a higher margin for you. You're going to make more money because you're not also subtracting the acquisition out of the profit. So that's why there's these sales are so powerful, and why running email marketing to these customers and your existing customer base is so powerful. Now you can do it to your prospects too, but this is where you make the bulk of your extra profit. If you're profiting just off your ads on the front end, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, exactly right. And it's you couldn't be more true. Like the power of it as well. It's the ROI in email is just so much higher than other marketing channels. Like it's Klaviyo say, and I'll reference Klaviyo throughout this chat because that's the main email provider we're using, right? And they estimate it's like something like crazy. It's like 122% average ROI on so like your return on investment is 122%, and you don't see that with other channels, and that is a large point because they've bought from you before, or they're hotter leads. But that's how you keep your business going and not having to spend more money on acquiring those new customers. It's just nurturing. It's all about nurturing those existing customers.
Yeah, totally. So let's go ahead and dive into this a little bit to answer some questions people may be having. And so first and foremost, there's a lot of ways to do it, but what's the best way to build your list for your email list?
Yeah. So there are a couple ways. Like you said, there are actually many ways people go about growing their list, and definitely some of them will lack the quality of your contacts on your email list. So things like gated offers, such as where people create like free resources or tools, and then ebooks, case studies, all these things that we've even done before, and you require customers to sort of enter their email in order to get those things, and other things such as giveaways and contests. And I'd say the giveaways and contests would be the ones that are lacking the most in the quality of contact that's growing, because they're only signing up to your list in a sense to try and win something for free or to try and get something, and that's not typically the most quality lead. But the two things that we love and the highest quality leads for us are receiving or collecting emails from buyers. So that's automatically done if you're synced up to Klaviyo in your Shopify store or whatever, and if someone buys from you, they'll go onto a purchase list in Klaviyo. And the other way is actually using sign up forms, whether it's like pop-ups like Wheelio, there's heaps of Attentive, all these other ones that you can utilize with email, SMS as well, and even embedded forms like that we use. We've used forms in the footer to incentivize people to get 10% off their first order and stuff like that. And those ones that we're seeing, they're the most quality leads that we receive, and they're we can see up to 20% conversion rate on those leads, as opposed to the other ones that I mentioned previously that are sort of not ready to buy or anything like that, or they're trying to get something for free.
Totally. So and obviously a buyer lead is going to be way more powerful and qualified than a prospect lead in any sense or form. And the simple thing is that a prospect stays on the prospect list until they buy, then they're moved over to the buyer's list and removed from the prospect list. Once they're on the buyer's list, you have one massive buyer's list that then gets segmented down into many sub-segments, so that because you don't want to just be firing one massive email to everybody on your list at a time. You're going to be sending out tons of emails to different little sub-segments, and that's where you maximize and really get that money. If you were sending out one email to everybody, yeah, that's a promotion. You can make good money there. but on a daily basis, you want to be triggering emails based on actions. And that's where you're going to make 3, 4, 5 times as much money than just sending a blanket email generically to everybody at once. So that's, just a little food for thought as we kind of get into this. So, we talked about like it being a big deal, but like how, because you work in our amplified partner program and stuff like that, you work with the Ecom insiders as well. So talk about how email drives massive, what it does, drives massive revenue, or how it drives revenue for our clients.
Yeah, it's a great question. And it comes down to two things. It's so if we're saying like, Klaviyo this month produced, 30 to 60% of our monthly revenue, where is that money actually coming from? It would be split up between campaigns and flows. So the difference between like a campaign can be a sequence of emails or just a number of emails that are sort of, you're talking about, maybe you're letting your customers know about a special sale or a product release, collection release, anything like that, right? And it might be just a one-time offer email or anything or something like that. That's what we call a campaign. So we might send that out to different segments based on, what their attributes to see how they react. And it would be like, okay, we'll send this to them and hopefully, like whether it's a sale and we can get sales through that. And the other method is flows, which is a automated, it's automated sequences. So it's a number of emails within a flow of emails, so broken up by different time delays. And the emails are triggered on behaviors that they've done on a site or on your ad or anything like that. So for example, if someone's added an item to their cart, got through to checkout, then abandoned the cart. So that behavior is that they've abandoned that checkout there, and they'll enter something such as like an abandoned checkout flow, right? So that's the difference between campaigns and flows. So campaigns being the sort of the one-time sale pitches or anything like that, and then flows being, a number of emails based off and it's automated as well. That's the best thing. And it's based off their behaviors on your website.
Yeah. And the flows guys are like, campaigns are great, but flows is that automated make money while you sleep kind of money that everybody always wants to make, but they never take the time to figure out how to make. Well, flows are how you do that. Automated flows. Now, it's basically just a fancy autoresponder, right? But the cool thing about Klaviyo is that it syncs so tightly in with Shopify. It allows you to do really, really deep behavior-based segmentation, based on a whole bunch of factors. So it could be, customer has bought within the last 12 days, has bought either product A, B, or C, but has not bought product D, and has opened an email in the last X. So you can have all these different criteria, and your Klaviyo account will automatically filter through all those and go, okay, boom, here's the list of people today that are going to get that. And then tomorrow they'll calculate it all over again and say, so maybe you sent out 2 emails today and it's 4 emails tomorrow. But what that does is as you build those flows out, every customer that comes into your ecosystem can trigger any of those flows based on their behavior automatically. So you basically make money while you sleep. Now, the cool thing is every time you add a flow, it just compounds like the lifetime value and the additional money you're going to make, because now any new customer coming through your business has the chance to trigger one of those flows that are already set, and you never have to mess with them again. You should, but you don't actually have to, right?
Exactly right. No, that's the best part, is that essentially it's all automated, all done while you sleep, and that's definitely what we're after in those things, where you can focus on other things, other parts of the business, whilst those that they've been taken care of in the initial work that you've set up. So there is an initial input, but the output far outweighs that for sure. So
for sure, yeah. So now that we're talking about flows, why don't you kind of go through and tell us some of the best flows that the must-have flows, right?
Yeah. I mean, there is an endless amount of flows, and you can browse ideas in Klaviyo. They have a great library of flows that will spark inspiration. But for us, definitely we break our flows up into sort of pre-purchase flows and then post-purchase flows. Some of the pre-purchase flows that we recommend setting up and that have the biggest ROI for us are flows like your welcome series, and we like to call it our buy or die. So essentially we have like a number of emails in this flow that if say Tanner signs up to my Wheelio spin on my website, he'll enter my welcome series, which is basically giving him that initial discount that we may have promised, and then also just introducing him into the brand and letting him know about our unique values of the brand and stuff like that. So making them fall in love with your brand, and that's one of the biggest ROI flows that we have, as well as your other pre-purchase flows may include your abandoned cart flows. So there's actually, this can get really, really deep in the abandoned cart flows. People think that, you just have that one abandoned cart flow, but there's actually a bunch of flows that we can do in here. And I've broken them down into 4 different flows for our abandoned cart flows. So number 1 would be your site abandonment flow. So basically, Tanner lands on my website. He doesn't do anything, doesn't look at a product or anything, and he bounces. And we're able to acknowledge that in Klaviyo and have a flow put in place and say, hey, like, we've seen that you arrived. It's a bit creepy, but it works. And as long as you can add some humor, you might be able to offset that creepiness of like, how did he know I just got on the website and left? So yep. 3 of the first flows are going to require them to be already subscribed. So, or obviously already buyers or something like that, or been in your welcome series or anything like that. So obviously that site abandonment, you land on the site, you don't really take much action, and then you leave. We can retarget you with some emails from that. And then the next one would be your browse abandonment, which is, I call like the browse abandonment. It's like actually viewing products. So you've shown a little bit more interest. You're interested in this product. So then we can actually retarget you with that and say, hey, we've seen you check this out, and then give you maybe some more information on that product and be able to try and persuade you to come back and maybe even offer you a little discount to come back and pick that one up. So that's the 2 flows there. And the third one is the abandoned cart. The abandoned cart is actually, you actually have to add Klaviyo has some really good information on this, but there's this website tracking that you can add on your site as well that allows you to retarget people who add a product to cart but don't make it to checkout. And that's another nifty little flow that not a lot of people are using at all. Like, this is very, very underground flow that I don't see many people using this at all. So it's good that you found that one out. So the abandoned cart is when a subscriber essentially adds a product to cart but doesn't make it to checkout. And then the one we all know is the abandoned checkout flow, which is actually called the abandoned cart flow.
But it's really a checkout flow.
It's really a checkout flow. So they add a product to the they get all the way to checkout, and they bounce from there. And that could be anyone, as long as they've actually put their email in on that first information step, say on your Shopify checkout there. So they're the 4 abandoned cart flows. I know that's pretty overwhelming or deep, but there's if you just rewatch that, it's a very simple breakdown of that one, and that leads into sort of the post-purchase flows, which will be your flows after someone obviously purchases. So you have your first-time buyers flow. So you'd obviously treat your first-time buyers different to how you treat your repeat buyers. So first-time buyers flow would include emails like thanking them for shopping with you, giving them some more information of the brand. It could be anything about instructions on how to use their product or anything like that as well. And then the repeat buyers flow is we like to separate these two, because we will talk to our repeat buyers differently than we'll talk to our first-time buyers, because obviously they've shopped with us before, they're familiar with the brand, so we don't need to tell them too much of stuff that they already know. We might be able to provide them some different information there. There's a couple other flows in here that we definitely utilize, which is the VIP flow, which is when they've spent over X amount of dollars, and the win back flow. And the win back flow is something that I think everyone needs to put on as well. And the win back flow is basically when we have those subscribers that go unengaged for a certain amount of time, and we try and fight for them back, whether it's 30 or whether it's 60 or 90 days or something like that, depending on your metrics. You want to try and re-engage them to come back and make another purchase. So they're the main flows that we have in place. They all serve a particular purpose, and they all do really, really well in their own regard.
Yeah. And these flows, guys, the automated flows alone, we have one of our guys from EI, actually have a bunch of people, but he actually came on stage and gave a testimonial how we've been giving in Ecom Insider, which is what the shirt I'm wearing right here. it's our business accelerator for e-com stores. But in that program, every single month, we're delivering new marketing campaigns to them that we're using in what we call the GSD report. Now, in the GSD report, we give up, there's tons of them. We've been doing these for 3.5 years. We've got tons and tons of campaigns and different stuff, sometimes email, sometimes SMS, whatever. But anyway, they came on stage and said, hey guys, we admit that we've not done hardly at all of the GSDs that we've been getting, but we did put the 5 main ones in place. And we're getting, 18% of our daily revenue is coming from email after just 5 campaigns. And we didn't do anything else. We just set up the basics. They haven't tweaked them. They haven't optimized them for anything. So 18%. And that store went on to do almost, actually over $10 million in 9 months because they actually got serious about it and started paying attention. But a big chunk of that came from automated flows. They eventually got up to above 30% of their daily email from their flows. And, it's just a regular physical product business. It wasn't anything crazy. The magic though of everything that Jacob's telling you is it's pretty set and forget. Like you should go back in there and you should look at your open rates and your click-through rates and things like that and kind of tweak those and try to make them better. But once a campaign's up and running, it just happens. And then you can go focus on the next campaign and the next campaign. And, the cart abandonment, which is actually checkout abandonment that we're talking about there, you can even segment that based on are they first time buyer potentially? Have they purchased before? You could have a campaign for repeat buyer, cart abandonment, checkout abandonment. Then what we also like to do is we like to do high value checkout abandonment. So if someone has spent a significant amount over your AOV and is basically a whale, you want to treat that cart abandonment or checkout abandonment different than you want to treat your regular AOV cart abandonments. So there's a whole lot of like nuances and ways you can really get crazy in there, but just having some semblance of flows and basic functionality in there is a ridiculously easy thing to do. And it's something that, like Jacob can attest to, very, very few stores, even big stores that come to us for Amplify, many of them don't do email.
No, and they just, they write it off. They focus so heavily on their Facebook and their Instagram marketing and all those things. But man, email is sort of that backbone that just helps you drive more revenue to be able to afford more, to spend more on new customers and everything like that. It really is a lifeblood to e-commerce businesses, like till this day, and I think will be for a very long time as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's so integral into a successful e-commerce business. Like in everything you make on the front end, you can make 2 to 3x or more on the back end just with the email without the acquisition cost because you've already paid for it. So super important. But like with anything, because we're big on optimization and data and all that kind of stuff, there's some, I'm sure there's some key metrics that you want to tell people to be paying attention to, right?
Yeah, for sure. There are a number of metrics that you should be sort of monitoring for your campaigns as well as your flows, and it's quite easy to figure out what's lacking in that aspect. So essentially, there's sort of 3 questions you can ask yourself with your campaigns. And you can see this by just going into the metrics on the back end of each campaign. It's Klaviyo in particular makes it very, very easy to find those metrics, and also does a really, really good job at sort of indicating how you're doing against their averages and how they want you to sort of the benchmarks they sort of want you to be hitting. So there's 3 questions you should ask yourself. If you have like spam complaints, or do you see a high rate of bounces like consistently, like I'm talking soft bounces as opposed to hard bounces, and then open rates, are they falling into the single digits? Because Klaviyo definitely, or most ESPs have essentially a benchmark of metrics that you sort of need to be getting above, and if you start falling below those metrics, there's a great chance that you'll start ending up in that spam folder, which is the absolute last thing you want to be doing, and it requires some good work some hard work to get out of those things. So there are some metrics that Klaviyo can give you. You can find them online as well, but some of the metrics for those ones, you want to make sure that your open rates are staying above the single digits, so into like 15 to 25% range. If it's going below 10, it's definitely critical that you work on that, and your open rates can be straight. It could be essentially your subject lines, or you could, and I'll talk about more on how to actually improve those metrics, but I'll give you some of the metrics at the moment. So the open rate, you want to sort of be hitting the 15 to 25% mark, and then the click rate, is around 1.5 to 2.5%, and you'll see these things in your Klaviyo account as well. And obviously bounce rate, definitely, I think the bounce rate was like 0.4 to 0.8%, unsubscribe rate and spam rate. So just keeping them essentially like above the benchmarks that Klaviyo gives you will help you sort of stay out of that spam folder, right? Because like inbox providers such as like Gmail, Yahoo, other ones that we see, they'll track how sort of your contacts or your subscribers sort of interact with your emails. So if you are getting a lot of bounces and or they're not opening or they're marking as spam, then you will definitely start seeing your emails be put in the spam folder, which will even further damage your results.
So what about revenue metrics? Anything like in that regard that we want to look at from an email perspective, or, you know?
It definitely just depends on essentially how big your list is, but we see like it's different from campaigns, like from campaign to campaign. If it's a big sale, I know people go really, really hard in sort of the Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and you can see some ridiculous revenue generation through there. But I don't actually have averages straight off for the.
But you want to look at your campaigns at least and make sure that, like, you know, they're actually cash flow positive, they're generating ROI, they're working. And then, you know, you can look at some of your campaigns and go, man, this campaign's getting triggered a bunch, but it's not producing much money, right? Like a lot of people are getting this campaign, but it's not producing money. Why is that? Is that something I can fix? Is it just the nature of the beast and I can't because it doesn't have that flow is more information based and less offer based? But you could also go, hey, maybe I can throw an offer in here somewhere that will increase that campampagn.
Yeah, exactly.
So you know, there's no point having flows that are designed to make money if you're not actually tracking to see that they are making you money.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's also like if you're seeing like low open rates, that might be attributed to a poor subject line. And if you're seeing a really high open rate, but not a great click rate, then you're obviously your content may be lacking. So they were really hooked on the subject line, and then you've let them go in the content of the email. So you want to make sure that they stay congruent throughout, and that's how you can test. The best thing is A/B, like split testing through these providers such as Klaviyo and stuff. They make it so easy. So it is really, really important that you're split testing subject lines, you're split testing copy and emails and stuff like that, just to make sure that you are generating the most income out of those, or the most revenue sort of out of those campaigns or flows.
Yep. So, and you just touched on it a little bit, but let's talk a little bit more about what you can do to improve those metrics. So the first things you said was like, hey, if your open rate sucks, first thing you can do to improve that is to, you know, test out your subject line and try some different subject lines, right? And then you talked about click rate, adjusting the copy. What else is there that you can do to kind of tweak those metrics and try to improve them?
The main one would be to like we spoke about earlier, is segmentation. I think personalization and segmentation are going to be the two biggest things moving forward with email. So making sure that you're not just blasting like your whole list like that. You can't do that anymore. Like we spoke about, that will really, really hurt your results. If you're just sending a campaign to your whole list and like everyone's going to see it, that's awesome. But no, like, because you have to segment. And speaking of people like in EI, like Devin has a really, really good method on actually how to segment that list, and how to segment all your list to only send campaigns to people that he knows are going to be interested in this. There's no use sending to those people that haven't opened an email at all or opened an email in the last 120 days. It's only going to hurt your results. So sending campaigns to more engaged segments are really going to boost those metrics. Obviously, you're going to get a higher open rate, higher click rate. It's going to be a smaller list of people, but they're going to be the ones that are actually interested in buying from you. So learning how to segment those engaged people, contacts, is going to be one way to improve those metrics. Another one will be cleaning your list. This is something that you do regularly. for sure is identifying the unengaged contacts in your account and creating segments so you can actually sort of not send your campaign to them. So you can send your campaign to more engaged segments, and then actually make sure that you're not sending campaigns to certain unengaged segments. And if they stay unengaged, you can use those unengaged segments to try and put them through win backs and stuff like that. And if they're just not responding to those win back flows or win back campaigns or anything like that, it would be to suppress them and then eventually remove them from your account, just to get some more accurate data on sort of who's opening your email. So there's no point paying for a contact that's never going to actually buy from you or open an email, because it's costing you money to have them on your list, and they're essentially just damaging your results as well. So don't get attached to those people that aren't opening your emails. Just get rid of them and find more people that are interested in your stuff.
Yeah. And to give a little bigger piece of clarity on that, when he's saying damaging your results, let's say if you're doing what he said not to do and mailing your whole list, and let's say you have 5,000 active engaged people, and you have 10,000 or 5,000 mediocre, and then you have 5,000 that don't even open your emails or click on anything, right? So of those, the first two segments, you could probably get away with sending to that entire batch and you'd be okay. However, if you sent to the whole list, those 5,000 people who are unengaged are going to impact your scores, and they're going to impact your deliverability to everybody on the list, whether they're in that good opener list or they're in the mediocre, whatever. So the dead weight on your list that doesn't, it actually hurts your deliverability. It hurts your inboxing. It hurts all of that. Now, the better solution with like what Jacob's talking about is, we talked about 3 segments. You could send that exact same email to all 3 segments individually, and you would get better performance than if you sent it just to all of them at once, because it would allow the people who are high engagers to get better deliverability, better everything, and it would work way better. So more people would see it, more people would click on it and thinking. And the same thing with the next use. And then that final one, you might get a couple out of it, you might not, but they wouldn't be dragging down the rest of your sends.
Exactly right. No, that's the most important thing. And another little tip that you can actually do is sort of offset those emails. So we know that Klaviyo likes to see certain metrics when you're sending campaigns, like your open rate, click rate, and stuff. So what you can actually do is send a campaign to those really, really your top engaged contacts, and then maybe wait a couple hours. And so you see a really, really high open rate, and then you can actually send that campaign to those really small, like the sort of not the unengaged, but the less engaged. And because you have that such a great open rate, it's offsetting that bad open rate or that real mediocre one. So that's a way that people recommend, so you can still hit that list instead of bringing your overall right down, right? And yeah, that's definitely like the top 3 ways you can improve the metrics that I mentioned above. So yeah.
Cool. So guys, really the big ultimate takeaway out of this chat, and we can have Jacob back on later to talk more email, but the big takeaway is that you need to be emailing. You need to be doing it. There's no point in you building a list and not emailing it, or having customers that are buying your product and not emailing them. Even if you only have one product, they could buy it again. They could buy it as a gift, or you could partner with other brands and do some affiliate promotions or things like that. There's so many ways to monetize your list. And if you're not doing it, you're leaving so much money on the table. Plus the fact that the way we're seeing the industry change and transform, and like post-COVID, and I mean, I guess we're still kind of in COVID, but you know what I mean? Like we're growing out of it. The brands that are not leveraging the proper business foundation and business elements that they need to succeed, like a front end and a back end to the business. Front end is traffic acquisition and initial sale. Back end is repeat purchases and lifetime customer value. The number one thing for LTV and repeat purchases is email. There's other ways to do it as well, but the number one thing is email. So if you're not using it, then how can you have repeat purchase and LTV at any like realistic level? You can't. So if you're not using it, you need to. And I guess one of our favorite sayings is that, only do it if you hate money, only don't do it if you hate money, right? So with that, guys, we're going to wrap this up. If you like this thing, make sure you're subscribed. Okay. You like our podcast, you like our show, make sure you're subscribed on both audio and over on the YouTube channel, because this is a video podcast as well. To get the links, go to buildgrowscale.com/podcast. We also have the show notes available there for you. And then again, leave us a review, leave us a comment, let us know what you think, give us ideas for future episodes, guests you'd like to see on, whatever. Let us know what you think. This show is for you. And with
Awesome.
that, Jacob, thanks for being here, bro.
Thanks for having me, Tanner. It's always a pleasure, brother.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we will see you in the next episode. Ciao.